Hi viewers, welcome back to Edu Solutions, the financial education session. Myself Ganesh Krishnan. So I will be continuing income tax for individual session. So as you can see from the screen itself, we have technologically upgraded. Thank you all for your immense support. Let's go to the video. So before we start the second part, I am just briefing the first part, going a small recap on first part, which is old tax regime and new tax regime. Okay, so the highlights of that was it was announced in the Union Finance Budget 2020. It was the first time in the history of India that two tax slabs are running at the same time, and individual has first time getting a choice to choose, because earlier if the new tax slab is announced, the old tax slab was automatically removed. But in current scenario, these both the slabs, old tax slab and new slab, both are existing. So in my previous video I have already explained which one is beneficial, what is the difference between both, and with case studies, with examples I have already explained, and I have already explained which are the percentages of both the tax slabs. So in the I button above I button I have mentioned the link for my previous video, so you can view that if you are not seen my previous video. So let's move to the second part. So the second part is exemptions and deductions. So first of all, I thought I will take one video for both these, but due to a lengthy session, I have to explain each and every exemption and deduction on detail. So I am taking exemptions in this video and deduction in the next video. So part 2 will be part 2A and part 2B. So this will be part 2A, which contains exemptions, but comparison I am doing this. So this income tax old tax regime, why I written old tax regime is that this is exempted only, exemption and deduction is applicable only in old tax regime, as I explained in my previous video, that this exemption and deductions are not available in new tax regime. So in old tax regime you can get so many exemptions. Let's see one by one the contents of this exemption and deduction. First is difference between exemption and deduction. What is the difference between exemption and deduction? Now, which are the types of exemption? Which are the types of deduction? What are the calculation? How the exemption or reduction for each case is calculated? What are the criteria or conditions? Then examples. Then some commonly asked questions. First we will see what is the difference between exemption and deduction. The first point is in exemption is part of your salary, like HRA, house rent allowance, LTA, leave travel allowance, food coupons, etc. So these come under your payslip. You can see the payslip and the things which are included in payslip as or part of your payslips are called exemption. In other way, deductions is not a part of your salary, but you will get a tax benefit through external sources, like if you are taking some life insurance, you are doing some donation, you are taken in a home loan, interest on home loan, principal of home loan, etc. Now exemption is a relaxation given by the income tax department to you, and in deduction it is a concession. It is not a relaxation, it is just a concession given by the income tax department. So exemption is not considered as part of total income. It is not at all considered, but in deduction it is considered first, and it will see if you are eligible, and it has some limits. If you are eligible and you are satisfied the limit, you will get the deduction. Exemption is completely tax free. Here it is not tax free, it is tax deduction, means there are some conditions to be satisfied here and there are some limits. That's why it is called tax deduction. It is applicable, exemption is applicable for all the persons, and deduction there are certain conditions and only specific persons will get this deduction. Exemption doesn't have much conditions, but here there are lot of conditions deduction. So in this video, as I explained earlier, I will go through only exemptions, and deductions I will do in my next video. So let's see which are all the exemptions. The first one is HRA, which is called house rent allowance. Second is LTA, which is called leave travel allowance. Third is education allowance. Fourth is food allowance or food coupons. Then professional tax. Then the last one is reimbursement of expenses. I will explain you each one by one with examples. So first we can see what is HRA. HRA, that means house rent allowance, is given to salaried individuals who are living in rented house. They can claim their HRA to get an exemption or deduction from the tax. So if you are staying anywhere for rent and your company is giving HRA as part of your salary, then you will get HRA benefit. But if you are staying in your own property, then you are not eligible for HRA. So how it is calculated, how much HRA you will get the benefit. So the calculation of HRA is least from the following. There are three conditions. The least of these three are eligible for HRA claim. First is actual HRA received. That means your payslip will contain a part called HRA, house rent allowance. So the amount of that HRA mentioned in your payslip, you can claim that. Or second thing is 50% of basic plus DA. So it is applicable for metro cities, that means big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, etc. So 50% of your basic plus DA. DA means dearness allowance, that is not mostly applicable to government employees. For normal employees it will be basic salary only. So 50% of your basic salary. And the third criteria, then one more thing I like to mention is 40% in case of non-metro cities. So only because in metro cities the rent is very huge, that's why 50% is allowed, and non-metro cities 40% of basic plus DA is allowed. And third case is actual rent paid, the rent paid to your landlord less 10% of basic plus DA. If DA is not the 10% of basic. Now what are the criteria? You should be staying for rent. That again I am saying, if you are staying in your own house or your parental house, wherever you are staying you should be paying rent. Otherwise you will not get the benefit of HRA. If your annual rent is above 1 lakh, so this is the another point to be noted. If your annual rent is above 1 lakh, you need to provide your landlord's PAN number. So that means if 1 lakh, if you calculated, if your rent is around 10,000 or 9,000, you should have your landlord's PAN number to be submitted. Then only you will get the HRA benefit. Now let's see the commonly asked question in this session. What if your company doesn't provide HRA and you are paying rent? Whether you can claim HRA? That means in your payslip there is nowhere mentioned HRA. Then you are also staying in for rent. Then whether you are eligible for HRA? As per exemption, you are not eligible for HRA, but don't worry. There is another option which I will explain in the deductions session. So there is one option for those who are staying for rent and they are not getting HRA as part of your salary. So that I will explain in the deduction part. So in exemption part it is not allowed. HRA is allowed only if it is part of your salary. Now I will show one example of HRA calculation. Mr. A is living in Mumbai, so he is living in a metro city, Mumbai, and earning monthly income of rupees 40,000. So this 40,000 is bifurcation also I have given here. So basic plus DA, he is getting 15,000, HRA 18,000, and other allowance 7,000. So totally he is getting monthly salary of rupees 40,000, and he is staying for rent and his monthly rent is rupees 10,000. So how much HRA he can claim? So as I mentioned in my previous slide, the calculation of HRA is minimum of or least of the following criteria. So actual HRA received 50% of basic, as he is staying in metro city, 50% of basic plus DA, actual rent paid less 10% of basic. Let's calculate each case. First of all, actual HRA received, he is getting an HRA of rupees 18,000. This is a monthly HRA amount. So annual HRA for every income tax claim, you should calculate annual cases only. You have to convert this monthly to annual. Your salary also, to calculate your salary, you have to multiply it into 12 or add the 12 months salary if your salary is varying monthly. So let's see the first case. Actual HR received is rupees 18,000 he is monthly earning as HRA, and into 12 months, which is 2,16,000. So this is the first case. Let's see the second case. So 50% of basic plus DA. His basic plus DA is 15,000 per month. So in a year he is earning 15,000 into 12. 1,18,000 into 50%, that means 50% of 1,80,000, which is rupees 90,000. Let's see the third case also. So third case is rent paid less 10% of basic plus DA. He is paying, in this question he can see that he is paying a rent of rupees 10,000 per month. So 10,000 into 12, he is paying annual rent of 1,20,000 less. His, as earlier discussed, basic plus DA for his monthly basic plus DA is 15,000 into 12 months into 10%, which is coming rupees 18,000. So he can claim 1,02,000, but he cannot claim all these three. He can claim the least of all these three. Which is the least one? This 90,000 is the least one of all these. So A can claim HRA of rupees 90,000, which is option 2. Now we will move on to next exemption, which is leave travel allowance. So what is leave travel allowance? It is an exemption or allowance given by the employer to the employee for traveling on leave. So, but leave travel, that means if you are going for a vacation and you are applied for a leave and you are going for a vacation, and you can claim the LTA, but there are lot of conditions for this LTA. Before going for the conditions, let's see how LTA is calculated. It is simple. LTA provided by the employer, that means your salary slip will have a part called LTA. It is mentioned that LTA might be its annual package or monthly, a part of it will be receiving. So it varies from companies to company, whether LTA provided by the employer or the actual LTA claim, how much you spend on your vacation, whichever is less. So let's see the conditions. There are some conditions should be fulfilled to get LTA claim. The first condition is you will get only one LTA in a year and twice in 4 years. Second condition is twice in 4 years. That means in 4 years you should take only 2 LTA. So if you are gone for a vacation in 1 year, then second year you should not, or if you are first year and second year you get the LTA, and third and fourth year you will not get your LTA benefit. So income tax has announced this slab. So current slab is 2018 to 2021. So if you have already claimed 2018 LTA in 2018 and 2019, then you cannot claim till 2021. Now next claim you eligible for you will be 2022 only. And the third condition is it should be a paid holiday. That means if you are gone for some festival or it should be if you are long holiday or any other loss of pay, then you are not eligible for LTA. It should be a paid holiday. You should get the salary for that days, and it should be within India. Your travel should be within India. And next, fifth condition for this LTA claim is you should use only public transport like private bus or government buses, train or economic class flight. Then the sixth criteria or condition is maximum LTA will be allowance given by the employer. So if you are spending 50,000 for your vacation and your actual LTA is rupees 20,000, then you can claim rupees 20,000 only, not 50,000. Then seventh one, traveling alone or with your own family. So you cannot travel with your friends and claim for the LTA. You should travel only with your blood relation or your spouse and children. So it comes as parent, siblings, that means your brothers and sisters, spouse, then maximum 2 children you can get. So the questions we can get in this session are: what if your company doesn't provide LTA? Can you claim the same? No. If your company is not providing any LTA as part of your salary, then you cannot claim LTA benefit in any manner. Next question: can the employee claim for food and accommodation also? Here also the answer is no, because as the name suggests, it is giving only traveling expenses, traveling allowance. So food and accommodation are not included. Third question: what if you received LTA and not claimed LTA for 4 years? So your company is providing or the employer is providing you LTA benefit or part of his salary, and you are not utilizing it, you are not going for any vacation. Then the amount you are receiving as LTA, that amount is fully taxable. You have to pay tax on this. You have to add this amount in your income and you have to pay tax on the same. Better you should take the vacation and enjoy the benefit. The next allowance in the exemption is education allowance. So what is education allowance? Education allowance is an exemption like neutral allowance. It is also an exemption given by the employer to his employee for our child's education and hostel fees. So how much we will get? So for education fees we can claim rupees 100 per month per child up to maximum 2 children. That means if you have one child, you can claim 100 per month. That means 100 into 12. In a year, you can claim up to rupees 2,200. And if you have 2 children, you can claim up to rupees 2,400. Then hostel fees might be if your son is studying through a hostel or staying in a hostel, then you will get benefit for paying that hostel fees also, which is rupees 300 per month per child. Here also 300 is for one child for 1 month. So annually you will get a benefit of 3,600 rupees for one child and 7,200 for 2 children. And what are the criteria? So the criteria for education allowance is it is maximum allowed only for 2 children. So if you have 3 children, you will get the benefit for first 2 child only. Third child you will not get the benefit. But there is a small exemption here that if your second child or second birth is twin, then you will get benefit for all 3 children. But if your first birth is, means if your children's first birth is they are twins from the first birth itself, then you will not get any additional benefit or additional children. It is same applicable for LT also. There also I have mentioned maximum 2 children. Then second option, only tuition fees can be claimed. If you have to submit your fees receipt to your employer. So and only the part of the fee which is mentioned as tuition fee, that can only be claimed. Admission fee, lab fee or any other computer fee Any other fees related to your children's education is not allowed in this section. Only tuition fees, it should mention as tuition fees in your fees receipt, then only it will be allowed. Then the education allowance should be part of your salary. If there should be certain allowance called education allowance in your salary slip, then only you can claim. Then education institute to be in India, means if your children is studying overseas, then you will not get the exemption under this option. Then it should be full-time course. That means if your children is doing some correspondence course, part-time course, certificate course, then these exemptions are not eligible for you. The questions for this, common arised question for this session will be, what if your company doesn't provide education allowance? So if your company doesn't provide education allowance as a part of salary and not mentioned in your pay slip, then you will not get this education allowance. But don't worry, as like the case of HRA, there is another provision which I will explain in the deduction session. There is one provision there, you can claim in that option the education allowance. What if the fees is more than mentioned above? The same case, because this amount mentioned rupees 100, that means 1200 is very less amount. The additional amount, if you are paying 20,000 as tuition fee and you are getting exemption only 1200, the remaining amount you can claim through deduction. So you have to watch my next video to know more about that. So let's move on to next. So next is food allowance or food coupon. So what is food allowance? So most of the MNC companies and corporates are now giving food coupons or food cards. Nowadays it becomes cards instead of coupons. They are giving food coupons to your staff, their staff, for having the food for breakfast, lunch, whatever they like. So they can claim that in the income tax session. So the calculation for that is actual value of food allowance. Means if you are getting a 1000 rupees food allowance per month, that means 1200 per year. 1000 rupees means 12,000 rupees per year. You can claim that in your income tax filing. Or else food coupons issued. So how much food coupons? There should be some value for the food coupons. So that amount you can claim. As per Income Tax Act, the maximum allowed limit for an individual in a financial year is rupees 26,400. So let's see what are the criteria for that. So food allowance can be claimed only as per below criteria. So first criteria is it should be part of your salary, and second thing is it should be maximum allowed limit is rupees 26,400 per year. And the questions can be raised in this session will be, why the amount is restricted to 26,400 per year. So the income tax has calculated this by, so normally our average meal value will be rupees 50 per instance. That means for lunch, breakfast, dinner, 50 at an instance, and twice a day is allowed. So 50 into 2, that means 100 rupees per day, and 22 working days as an average it is calculated. So 100 into 22, that means 2200 in a month you can get an allowance, and if you multiply it by 12 you will get a maximum benefit of 26,400. So this is the basis behind this 26,400. The next question is, what if no food allowance food coupons issued by the company? In that case you will not get any income tax benefit. So next we will discuss on professional tax. You must have seen this deduction in almost all the payslip. So even the lowest earning employees will have the professional tax deduction. So professional tax is a deductible amount as the purpose of income tax and can be deducted from your income tax. So calculation is simple. It's actual of professional tax paid or deducted from your salary. The criteria: the employer should have deducted the professional tax PT, and the professional tax eligibility and amount means every state the professional tax amount will be different. So in my description box I will mention the state-wise professional tax amount for a year. The question for this session will be my company doesn't charge professional tax on my salary. What should I do? You don't have to do anything. If your professional tax is not deducted, it's a company's responsibility and company's criteria they are deducting or not. So if you are not charged professional tax, then you have no exemption allowed for this session. Then next is reimbursement of expenses. So most of the companies are reimbursing some of their expenses for some employees, mainly for sales or higher level employees who are doing some expenses for the company. Like if you are going for some sales call or client visit or customer meeting, so they will incur some expense for their travel, food, accommodation, etc. And they must be incurring some monthly fixed amount for their mobile and internet expenses. So these type of expenses most of the company will reimburse to the employee. So such expenses are exempted from the tax. So the calculation for the same is the actual expenses incurred. And the criteria, it should not form a part of salary. Rest all we have said it should be forming part of salary, but in this case reimbursement of expenses, it should not form part of your salary. That means if your salary is 30,000 and you are spending an addition of this amount for this client visit which are not part of your salary, and you are getting reimbursement that additional amount you have spent, that amount it should not part of your salary. So employer should pay it separately. It should not come along with your salary. They should pay it separately by submitting your bills, verifying as a separate cycle, not along with your salary. Then employer should not mention this amount in form 16 of the employee. So you must be having a doubt what is form 16. So every employer will give a form 16, that means a declaration or TDS deduction statement to every employee of the organization, mentioning some details of the annual salary and all. So I will do a separate session on form 16 and explain detail on that. So it should not mention in the form 16 of the employee. I will mention in my another video what is form 16 and why company is giving that. So here I am taking an example. So for example, a person spending rupees 3,000 for a sales visit, but his company reimbursed him only rupees 1,600. So can he claim the remaining 1,400 while filing income tax? So the answer is no, he cannot claim the additional 1,400. He should contact his company only. There should be company norms for reimbursing the expenses. So most of the companies have certain levels of employees and every employee has certain limits. So or they you must not have submitted your actual bills. So there might be certain reasons for denying this amount or short paying your amount. So this is not eligible, means you can get only the, you cannot claim this 1,400 in your income tax return. So that's for the exemption part. Thank you, and wait for our part B, which is mainly on deductions. So if you like this video or and like this channel, please do subscribe and press the bell button. Thank you once again.